Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillahi amma ba'du. In this session, as our brother Abu Abdullah Adnan just mentioned, this session is designed for some audience participation, inshallah, as well, after we get through some of the questions that we want to present to Sheikh Abu Uthman, who has actually written a book dealing with this issue, but what he dealt with in the book is pretty highly technical. Sheikh Salih ibn Ghanem al-Sadlan, as well as Sheikh Fayhan ibn Shali al-Mutayri, both of them gave the introduction of this book and is dealing with refuting the ideas and some of the positions that some of the present-day Khawarij have in terms of what they see as proofs that allow them from the Quran and the Sunnah to do some of the crimes that they do. But it's highly technical, to be honest with you. So the point that we're mentioning that is to show you that he does have a book in this issue. And again, that book is going to be passed out to you brothers, called Kashf al-Shubahat fi Masail al-Ahd wal-Jihad. So some of the issues that we want to ask the Sheikh, what's his position, his understanding concerning this issue is something that started a while ago, a long time ago, especially in London and Brixton, when this dawah of people who make takfir was spreading out. With one person in particular who was arrested and then put out of the country, went back to Jamaica. People used to learn from that brother. They used to say this principle that still remains, and that is, whoever does not make takfir of a person who is a kafir, then he himself is a kafir. Man lam yukaffir al-kafir fahuwa kafirun. So if he makes takfir of a particular, or someone makes takfir of a particular ruler, and you don't agree with that, then you become a kafir. If the ulama don't agree with that, then the ulama are kuffar. So we want to know from the Sheikh, what does he understand about this particular qaida that these people have? Man lam yukaffir al-kafir fahuwa kafir.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I'll speak in English. I'll try to speak in English, inshallah. And inshallah, Sheikh Usama will help me. This statement, من لم يكفر الكافر, whoever don't claim that the kafir is kafir, he is himself is a kafir. This is one of the things that contradict Islam. The meaning of the kafir here, the kafir that all the Muslims agree that he is a kafir. And there is a ijma' consensus of the scholars that he is a kafir. Somebody claim that someone can survive in the hereafter without following the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is kafir. He is a clear kafir, because we know that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last messenger of Allah, and whoever don't follow him, he is a kafir. So somebody came and say somebody can follow other than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam after he was sent to the people, and he can survive without following. We know that this man is a kafir, and whoever think that this man is not a kafir, he is the kafir. So they're talking about the kufr, where there is a consist of the scholars that this is kufr. They're not talking about the things that there are contradictions between the scholars. I'll give an example. The scholars, they have differences between them regarding the man anyone who doesn't pray. Some scholars say that if he doesn't pray, he is a kafir, and they have some proofs. And other scholars of Islam say that he is not a kafir, because leaving the prayer without rejecting the prayer, if he believes that this is obligatory on him, this is wajib, but he doesn't pray because of laziness or something like this, he is not a kafir. So leaving the prayer due to laziness, this is something which is, there's difference between opinion between the scholars. So we cannot come, if somebody says, okay, leaving the prayer, not praying is kufr, he cannot claim to the others, if you don't make kufr to the man who doesn't pray, you are a kafir. Why? Because leaving the prayers, there's no consist of the scholars that this is kufr. So we have to distinguish between things that there are consist of the scholars, all the scholars of Islam, that this is kufr, and other things that they are different between the differences between the scholars. So man lam yukaffir al-kafir fahu kafir, whoever don't claim that the kafir is kafir, he is kafir. This things is talking about the clear things in Islam which all the scholars agree that this is a kufr. Because if you say this kind of thing is not kufr, that means that you're rejecting the Quran and Sunnah. Because it's very clear from the Quran and Sunnah that this kind of things is kufr. So we cannot take this statement and put it to anything that we think, and we think that the correct opinion about this, that is this thing is kufr. So I don't know if it's clear or not.
Inshallah, it's clear.
You can make conclusion of.
So basically what the Sheikh is saying, and I think is pretty clear, is that there are some scholars who have ikhtilaf about different issues, that some of them said the one who does this thing is a kafir, like leaving off salat. Bona fide scholars said to leave off salat is kufr, whether you're doing it out of laziness or not. That is kufr. And then other scholars said no, if he doesn't leave it off based upon laziness, then he's doing an action of kufr, but he's not a kafir. So if this issue, whoever doesn't make takfir of a kafir were to be true, then we would have to say that those scholars who said that the one who leaves off the salat is their kuffar. The Sheikh said this is not the case. It's the one who there is ijma', there's no doubt, there's consensus. Quran, Sunnah, ulama, everybody are clear that this individual is a kafir. In that case, it's not permissible to have any doubt. Fir'aun, Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, those people, there's no doubt they're kuffar. So it's referring to this particular issue. If a person doesn't make takfir of those individuals, then he's a kafir because he's breaking ijma'. He's making something permissible that's not permissible, and so forth and so on.
And one of these issues is ruling the people.
Judging the people.
Judging the people not according to Quran and Sunnah. Like most of the Muslim countries that they use this kind of qawaneen.
Yeah, these types of the laws and the rules that many Muslim countries are using, the way they judge their people.
If somebody is ruling the people with other than the Islamic rules, if he doesn't reject the ruling of Allah, or he is ruling by these laws because he thinks that the ruling of Allah is obligatory and he has to rule by Islam. But he left this because he wants to gain some money, he's afraid of some other people or something like this. But in his belief that we should rule by Islam. We cannot judge the people with something other than Islam. The scholars, there's no consist of this from the scholars that this kind of things, this type of things is kufr. Some scholars say if he rules by other than Islam, if he brought laws from other than Islam, this kind of thing, even if he thinks that this is wrong, this thing is kufr. And some scholars say no, as long as he doesn't believe that this is halal, this is permissible, it's not from kufr things. So this type of things, ruling by other than Islam, is the same. The difference between the scholars is the same, where they differ regarding the people who doesn't pray. So I cannot claim that if somebody rules with laws other than Islam, from my belief, this is kufr. I cannot claim to anybody who says, no, this is not kufr, you are kafir because you didn't say that this thing is kufr. Because there are no consist of the scholars of Islam that this type of thing is kufr. There are consist of Islam that if somebody say, no, ruling of Islam, we cannot do it in this time. Or the laws that we bring is better than the ruling of Islam. This is clear kufr. Somebody claims this, we believe that this is kafir. And if somebody says, no, he is not kafir, he will be kafir. Because this is very clear from Islam that we have to rule by the ruling of Islam.
The next issue, Ikhwani, is the issue of what is authentic from Al-Mustafa Al-Mukhtar sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in that he told us going to the door of the sultan, the door of the ruler, is going to be a problem. If a scholar is found to go and to be connected with the leader, then he's going to compromise his religion. There are a number of authentic hadith that indicate that. And there are great scholars of the past, like Al-Imam Abu Hanifa, Al-Imam Sufyan al-Thawri. These people used to make a lot of effort not to be connected with the rulers. So some people say today, when they want to say that the hukam, that the ulama of al-Islam are kuffar, and the ulama of al-Islam support the hukam and what they're doing that's wrong, they use these types of ahadith. So we want to know what's the position and understanding of the Sheikh concerning this shubha.
The Prophet Muhammad says, be away from the rulers. But all the scholars say this is regarding the rulers who doesn't listen to the scholars. Or if a scholar, he doesn't have patience. If he goes to the ruler, he might persuade him, give him some money, that he might leave some of the truth, some of the ma'ruf that he has. Anas radiallahu anhu and some of the companions, they used to sit with Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. And we know that the Prophet Muhammad says about him that he is a murderer. Even though Anas and Ibn Abbas and others, they used to sit with him when he was ruling Iraq. There are many scholars like Zuhri and other of the scholars, they used to come to the rulers to advise them, to reject them from evil, Al-Awza'i and others. And this is something very important, because if the scholars are away from the ruler, they don't make asking them to do ma'ruf or rejecting them from evil, they will still on the evil things. So we have to understand this thing. We have to distinguish between somebody's that if he goes to the door of the rulers, he will not be patient. They might persuade him, or he cannot say the truth, or he cannot reject what he sees or what he knows. He should stay away, because the fitna is very strong with the rulers, and a lot of people that might come close to the rulers and they leave a lot of ma'ruf. They cannot reject evil. They might even follow them. But as long as the scholar, he's strong enough and he thinks that the ruler can listen to him and he can reject evil, he should go to him. Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi, he went to the ruler, to the head of the Tatar, of the Mughal. This is nation which they killed many Muslims, millions of Muslims, even though he went to him when he was claiming that he is a Muslim, and he's rejecting his evil, and he asking him to do the good things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to do. He didn't say, okay, no, I cannot knock his door. Knocking the door of the rulers, being close to them, if you are following their dunya, if you are following their money, if you want to gain something from them, no, be away from them, because the fitna is very strong. But if you think that you have to say the truth, and you can be close, and they can advise them, and they listen to you, and this might reject a lot of evil things, and this might stop them from doing bad things, and make the evil less, you should go. You cannot say, oh no, I'll be away from them. And there are a lot of scholars that they were very close. Az-Zuhri, he's well known of Tabi'in. He was very close with the Umayyin, the ruler of Bani Umayyah. And Anas radiallahu anhu, many of the scholars in the past, they were close to the rulers, but they were advising them and they used to listen. That doesn't mean that they listen to them in everything they advise them, but at least they will stop them from do many things.
The third question, Ikhwani, or the third issue is the importance of the scholars in these types of issues. No doubt the Prophet, he told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا تزال طائفة من أمتي على الحق منصورة. There will always be a group of people from my ummah who will be victorious. The truth will be with them. So we want to know, number one, is it possible for there to be a saved group and there are no ulama with those people? Just the regular people from the awam of the Muslims and the ubad of the Muslims with no scholars. Is that possible? And also, how important is it for the shabab, for the ummah, to look at the tawjihat and the irshad of the ulama when it comes to these types of issues? Takfir of people, there's jihad, that's jihad. Now I'm going to mention this, and I don't mean this to put anyone down because we have to stay away from mentioning names. So I'm not going to mention a name, but I want to mention something because it's part of our community. In Somalia, our Somalia, there's a group in Somalia, they blow things up and so forth. We have young Somali brothers, especially in Canada, who travel back there and they want to participate in what people are saying is jihad. How important, when you say to them, who's the scholar who said that's jihad? You don't know. So we want to know, how important is it for us to look at the ulama in these types of issues?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in his book, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ.
Allah said in the Quran, ask those people who know if you don't know.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in his book, وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ أَمْرٌ مِّنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوْ الْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا بِهِ وَلَوْ رَدُّوهُ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ وَإِلَى أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُمْ لَعَلِمَهُ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ. Allah
also mentioned in the Quran concerning the munafiqun, concerning the people who used to make problems during the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If an issue came to those munafiqeen, if an issue came to them touching public safety or public fear, they would talk about it and spread it. They just talk about it. But if they would have only taken that issue and referred it back to Allah, referred it back to the messenger and those who have been given knowledge from amongst them, then they would have explained to them what the reality of the issue was.
وقال تبارك وتعالى وأطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم أي العلماء.
And Allah said, obey Allah and obey the messenger and obey those who have been put in authority over you, and that means those in authority over you are the scholars.
The scholars in Islam, they are the leaders. They are the real leaders. Prophet Muhammad says, Al-ulama warathatul anbiya.
The Prophet, he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the scholars, they are the inheritors of the prophets.
And the knowledge spread in Islam through the scholars. If you want to take knowledge, you take it directly from the scholars. This is the way that Islam came to us. It's not taking the Islam from the books, from listening to tapes. So all the Quran and Sunnah came to the other people by the scholars. So as long as we stick to the scholars, we gain knowledge from the scholars who gain their knowledge from their scholars, and the other scholars gain their knowledge from their scholars. It's a chain. It ends to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the way to gain knowledge. So nobody can understand Islam by reading books, by sitting with a da'iyah who is not a scholar. And the scholars, they are levels. Some of them are very high scholars, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, ask the people, when major things come, you should go to the major scholars. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named them in the Quran, وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ.
Allah, he called those scholars, those people who are firmly established in knowledge and with knowledge.
And the scholars said the major issues regarding most of the people, like jihad, like hukum, like other major thing, which is not specific to somebody like wudu or salah. No, you're talking about major things, especially the things that can come with bloods, with killing, with fighting. Not everybody can talk about this. Even not every scholar. we should go to the major scholars, because these issues, if you make a mistake in these issues, that means the Muslims will go into fitna, into bloods, into killing. So regarding jihad, nobody can talk about jihad except the major scholars. Most of the scholars, when it comes to talaq, divorce, some of them, they don't make fatwa. Why? Because he thinks that divorce is something strong, something it's not easy. When you tell the husband, okay, your wife is divorced, you cannot come back to her. Imam Ahmad rahmatullahi alayhi used, in some situations, some people came to him and they asked him about some things regarding divorce. And he said, no, don't ask me. Go to Abu Ubaid, Qasim bin Salam. Then when they left, he said, who can make fatwa regarding divorce? This is very tough. This is very strong. Amr shaq, what do you call it shaq? Shaq. Difficult. So, look at this regarding divorce. Divorce means a family. How about the people, the Muslims? Okay, go to make jihad. Go make bombing. Go and make suicide things. We see very young or some da'iyah, they're talking about this kind of things. This kind of things, we cannot talk about it. If somebody came to ask us about this, we'll go to the major scholars. Umar radiallahu ta'ala and the companions, when the major thing comes, they go to the major Sahaba. They go to Abu Bakr, to Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. They know that this kind of things, nobody can talk about it except the major scholars. And this is the way of Islam. If you think that you can gain your knowledge and you will be very strong in knowledge and very clear without gaining the knowledge from the scholars, you're wrong. Because of this, a lot of the scholars in their books, they stated that anybody who gains his knowledge from the books, his mistakes will be much higher than his right things. And they stated that most of the fitna comes from the people who doesn't gain their knowledge from the scholars. Look at the head of all Ahl Bid'ah, all the deviant sect. Look at their heads. Al-Mu'tazila, Al-Asha'ira, Al-Jahmiya, Al-Rafida, all of them. If you look to the head of them, all of them, they are not known by gaining knowledge from the scholars. So these kind of things, don't ask a da'iyah, okay, call this da'iyah or this doctor or whatever. If you're talking about jihad, about major things, you should ask the major scholars. I don't know if it's clear or not.
Yeah, that's clear, inshallah. We want to ask now about something concerning the Kitab of Allah Azza wa Jal. Some of the ayat that seem to be pretty clear that people make istidlal. They use these ayat to accomplish and to do some of their things that they do. And these ayat are in the Quran and they're clear in what they're saying. Or they seem to be clear. So we want to get his understanding and to see whether or not they're understanding these ayat correctly. When we look in the world today, we see that the Muslims are being oppressed. Our money is being stolen. Our innocent women, children are being murdered. And no one is doing anything about it. Some of them are raped. Women are raped in Iraq, in Palestine. Oppression. May Allah help the Muslims. People take ayat of the Quran like the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal in Surah An-Nahl, ayat 126. وَإِنْ عَاقَبْتُمْ فَآقِبُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا أُوقِبْتُمْ بِهِ. The translation of that is, if you people are harmed or oppressed, if you're hurt by your enemy, if they hurt you, they harm you, then hurt them back the same way that they hurt you. So they kill our innocence. So therefore, this ayat is clear telling us that we can also go and we can do the same thing and plant bombs and blow them up on the plane, on the bus, in the local library, in the school, and just kill them because they killed our innocence. So what is the Sheikh's position concerning this ayat that's in the book of Allah?
I'll ask every one of you. Somebody came to a man and he raped his daughter. can her father go and rape the other daughter? And he come to this verse and say, "When عاقبتم فعاقب مثل ما عوقبتم به." Can he do this? Why? That man came and raped his daughter. Why don't he can go and rape the other daughter? Why? Because this is haram from Allah. If this man did this, I cannot do this. Because this is haram. So we have to distinguish between things. وَإِنْ عَاقَبْتُمْ فَعَاقِبْ مِثْلِ مَا عُوقِبْتُمْ بِهِ. The scholar says if somebody came to kill, which is qasas, what do you call qasas?
The law of retribution, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
They came to the, if somebody kills somebody by burning him, they say they cannot make qasas by burning him. Why? Because burning the people is haram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the only one who punished by burning. So we have to distinguish. Not everything they do, we will do. If they kill our children, we cannot kill their children. Because Prophet Muhammad ordered us not to kill the children. Not to kill the children during the war. Now we're not talking by war. We're talking about somebody who goes and take a visa and he goes to other country and they make bombing. This is not a war situation. Even though if they kill our children in the war, we cannot kill their children. We cannot kill their women. Even though if they do it, because they don't have religion. We have religion. We have to show them Islam. Jihad is a type of da'wah. Jihad is not a type of killing the people. We want to spread da'wah. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when somebody makes some sin that there is a punishment for him, punishment, like making this munafiq Abdullah bin Ubay, when he says, when I go back to the Medina,
we're going to expel the lowly ones and keep the powerful ones in place.
And this statement is kufr, even though he didn't make the had on him. He didn't punish him. Why? Prophet Muhammad says, I don't want the people to hear that Muhammad kills his friends. Because the people who are away from Islam, they cannot know the reason why he killed him. So he didn't do this kind of punishment which is in the Quran. Why? Because he wants to clarify Islam. Because he came with the mercy to spread Islam. This thing we have to understand. Other things, now we have to distinguish between duties. There are duties on us and there are duties on the ruler. There are duties on men and there are duties on women. I cannot make the duty of the woman and she cannot make the duty on the men. If a ruler came and he doesn't rule by Islam, he doesn't rule by Islam, can we go and to the stealers and cut their hands? Can we do this? Why? We say this is the ruling of Allah and he didn't do his duty, we will do it. No. This is fasad. What do you call it, fasad?
This is corruption, evil.
So there are duties on the rulers. Our duty is to advise them. We cannot put ourselves the rulers. If he didn't do it, we'll do it. Okay, you have to fight this country. You don't fight, we will fight it. Okay, let's go together and fight it. Make jihad. No. This is corruption. We cannot do this. So even if the ruler didn't rule by Islam, or he didn't do what is wajib on him, or he can help the Muslims, we cannot just throw him away and say, no, we will be the mujahideen, we will make the punishment on the people, we will stone the adultery people or whatever. So we have to know our duty, and we have to know the duty of the ruler. We cannot put ourselves as the rulers, and they cannot put themselves like us. If they didn't do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered them to do, we cannot do. Our things that we can do, we make advice. We make advice. And we have distinguished between the war and the amn. What do you call the amn?
The times of security, safety and security. The opposite, times of war, times of peace, safety, security.
Islam came and forbid treachery. I'll give an example. Hudayfa radiallahu anhu. You know the mushrikeen of Mecca, they used to fight the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They kicked him out from Mecca and they tried to stop his da'wah. And they did a lot of bad things. And they had a war. Hudayfa radiallahu anhu, he came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He made hijrah to the Medina. They stopped him, the mushrikeen. And they said to him, we will not leave you until you promise us that you will not be with him against us in the war. Now he's forced to agree. He wants to save his life. He's forced to agree. He said, okay, I promise you. Then he came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was going to Ma'rakat Badr, the battle of Badr. And he told him, Hudayfa, that they stopped me and I promised them not to fight with you against them. What did he say? Prophet said, no, you don't go with us. You should stick on your promise. As long as you promise them, even though that he was forced to make the promise, he said, no, you should be in Medina. You don't go because you promised who? Our enemies. You promised the kuffar. But he promised. So Prophet ﷺ taught him to respect his promise even with the enemies. When Prophet Muhammad ﷺ made the agreement in Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, and one of the conditions that if some Muslims come from the kuffar to the Muslims, the Muslims should take him back to the kuffar, even though they are making ta'zeeb.
They are punishing them.
They are punishing them not to leave Islam. After they signed this agreement, Abu Jandal, one of the Muslims who were punished, he came with the chains on his hands, and he found a way to be away from them, and he came to the Prophet ﷺ was happy. Okay, alhamdulillah, survive me. I am coming with you with the chain. What did the Prophet ﷺ said to him? No, we cannot. You should go back. He said, you want me to go back to them to punish me to leave Islam? He said, we made an agreement with the kuffar and we should insist on our agreements. We don't have treachery in Islam. And he went back. This is Islam. We are du'at. We are not killers. We are du'at. We have to show the real Islam. So we have to know that treachery is haram in Islam. If somebody comes, all the scholars, they are consistent from the scholars, all the scholars, says if some Muslims came to the kuffar, to the non-Muslims country, and they gave him a visa, he cannot kill any of them, and he cannot take even 1 pound from them. He should respect what the agreement between him and them, that he enter their country and they are safe from him.
But Sheikh Afwan, I want to cut you off very quickly just to interject something. The story of Abu Jandal, and what you're saying that the ulama said that if they allow you in their country with an agreement, an aman, there's an authentic hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim. Abu Hurairah said that the Nabi says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-harb khud'a. War is treachery. War is trickery and treachery. So people use this, they say we're in Darul Harb. So we're at war. So I can trick them and so forth and so on. So how do you rectify and harmonize that?
Trick is different than treachery. Trick, if you are fighting somebody and he wants to kill you or to what do you call it?
To defeat you.
To defeat you, and you want to defeat him, you can cheat him or trick him. That doesn't mean that you make treachery to him. That doesn't mean that you lie. Lie is haram, even in harb. Khud'a like what? You show that you left the war, then you come back. That doesn't mean that you go and make agreement with them that we stop the war, and after you made agreement, you make treachery and you fight them. This is haram. This is not the trick. Al-harb khud'a, the war is trick, is not treachery. Trick is different than treachery. Treachery, that when you have aman, when you are safe, when you give the others aman.
You give them your agreement and you have a trust between you.
And you يعني تقطع هذه وتغدر بهم.
Yeah, you do agreement.
This is treachery. This is not khud'ah. Khud'ah, there is no aman, there is no agreements, there is no safe things. After you sign and you agree, you cannot teach them. If you go to their country, as long as you made agreement, that's it. You cannot kill, you cannot bomb. Even if somebody of them come to our countries and we gave him agreement, visa to come, we cannot do anything with him. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to, in the wars, they used to be messengers between the two troops or from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the other kuffar. And there were a messenger. The messenger, he has the right to come without killing him. Prophet Muhammad, he didn't say, okay, no, this messenger came to us, we have to kill him, even though that he's messenger. No, this is treachery.
طيب يا Sheikh, we want to go back to some of these ayat, but there's a very important issue that we want to ask about, and it's not a shubha from people who make takfir, but it's a shubha from people who are on the sunnah concerning this first ayat. When I gave the reality of what's the condition in some of the Muslim countries today, how they go into our land and they rape our daughters and they kill our people and they take our money. And I think everybody here can remember the Palestinian boy who was standing behind the barrel when they shot the boy and killed him with his father. When those issues happened, the 10-year-old Palestinian boy who was walking with his book bag and they shot him and blasted his head open. When these things happen, I asked Allah to help those Muslims, and everybody said, Ameen. It's just with the fitrah. There are some Salafi people, we want to understand, is this a correct position? A person talks about jihad and he makes this dua, for an example, or he talks about jihad in the right way. The ayat, the hadith, an issue comes the right way. Is it correct to say, you're takfiri, you're from the Khawarij, because you spoke about that issue in the correct way? Not making tahyij, not making tasjir for people to make khuruj. Is that a correct understanding? Anyone who mentions something about jihad in the right way, taking in consideration the place, the time, the people, is that a takfiri, jihadi, the one who does that?
Jihad is one of the main things in Islam. And we have to talk about this, but in the correct way. Not in the way where the Khawarij now and other takfiris and other sects talking about this, and they are making very, very bad picture of Islam. No. We have to know that jihad is related to the rulers. Nobody can claim jihad or ask the people or call for jihad except if he is a ruler. At the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he is the one who called the people for jihad. Not Abu Bakr, not Umar, not others. So if we talk about things that happen to Muslims, and we say that the rulers should make jihad to these people who are killing the Muslims, this is correct. This is correct. They have to make jihad if they are strong enough, and they have to also to gain all the things that might help them jihad. But that doesn't mean that we're calling the people to make jihad. I don't know if it's clear or not.
Inshallah. The other ayat that we hear people using concerning doing some of these issues, these crimes that they do, and the Sheikh, he mentioned this thing about coming to this country and we have visas and obeying the law, the universal laws that don't go against our religion. He was speaking about that. There's an ayat in the Quran in which Allah Azza wa Jal commands, فَقَاتِلُوا أَئِمَّةَ الْكُفْرِ إِنَّهُمْ لَا إِيمَانَ لَهُمْ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَنْتَهُونَ. Fight against the leaders of kufr, for verily they have no contract. They don't have any contract that you have to obey. Fight them in the hopes that they're going to stop doing what they're doing. Another ayat is the statement of Allah Azza wa Jalla, is called the ayat of the sword, the safe. فَقْتُلُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدْتَمُوهُم. Kill the mushrikeen wherever you find them. So some people understand from these two ayat, the first ayat, they have no protection. Because Allah said they're the imams of kufr and we've been commanded to fight them. So we don't have to respect these visas. We don't have to respect these issues. And he also told us in another ayah, wherever they are, fight them, kill them wherever you find them. Is this the correct way of understanding these two ayah?
I think this, as I said, jihad and fighting is the ruling of the rulers. This is on the duty of the rulers. We cannot fight from our own. All of these verses, qatilu, that means you're fighting behind the rulers. Like the Prophet said, al-imamu junnah, yuqatalu min wara'ih.
He said that the imam is a shield in which people fight behind that shield.
وقال وإذا استنفرتم فانفروا إذا استنفرتم أي استنفركم الإمام.
Allah said in the Quran, and if you are encouraged in order to go out and fight, then this encouragement, this order is going to come from the leader of the Muslims.
So we have to understand this. Jihad and calling for jihad is the obligation of the ruler. If there are no ruler who calling this, you cannot call this. This is one thing. Another thing, all of these verses, قاتلوا أئمة الكفر فإنهم لا إيمان لهم. When we go to the tafsir, to the explanation of Quran, we know that the أئمة الكفر are the people who make treachery of Islam, who cheated the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, who killed the Muslims where they were safe and they were agreement. These people are called the أئمة الكفر, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encouraged the rulers and the Muslims behind them to fight these kind of people.
Okay, there's another issue, Ikhwani, is very prevalent in America, especially in big cities like New York, Chicago, big cities where there is a gang culture. You'll find people from the Crips, from the Bloods, coming into Islam. In Brixton, we used to have this problem in Brixton, and it's a reality with many of the people who are from this Khawarij way today, and that is the incident that happened with Abu Sufyan radiyallahu anhu when he was a kafir and he had the caravan. And Abu Sufyan's caravan, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam went after the caravan, but the caravan got away and they subsequently had the battle of Badr as a result of that. Some of the people use this as a dalil that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going to make i'tida. He was going to get his money back. So some of the people in this country, they say that they can steal and rob from the local merchants. They can do credit card fraud. When they get caught, many of these people get caught with credit cards and things like that. So is this something from Al-Islam? And do the kuffar today, any Amr Bakr Zayd from the people can go and say to the merchants on Coventry Road, you have to give us the jizya. You have to give us the jizya to protect you. Is that from Al-Islam?
The answer regarding this, that we have to understand that at the time that Prophet ﷺ went to the caravan of Abu Sufyan, it wasn't a time of peace. That time was a war. Even though there wasn't a war, real war, but there were a war between the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the kuffar. The kuffar took the money of the companions and they kicked them out, they punished, they killed some of them. So there were a war situation between them. So Prophet ﷺ, when he went to the caravan to gain what he can from their money, he wanted to take back his money, and this was during not peace, during war. He cannot do this, or he will not do this if there is a peace, there is agreement between him and the kuffar. So you have to distinguish between peacetime and wartime. This is one thing. One of the peace things is this kind of هيئات عالمية, منظمات عالمية, what do you call it?
What is that? The universal, the international organization. These people come together, all of them collectively.
This kind of international organization, every country, if it enters this kind, that means this is agreement between this country and all the countries within this agreement that they are safe. And we are safe. There's no war between us. Nobody from us can kill anybody from them, and nobody from them can kill anybody from us. This kind of peacetime, and most of the Muslims now, they are in this kind of agreements. This one thing. Another thing. Did the companion, by their own, went to take the Abu Sufyan caravan? By their own, or the Prophet ordered to do this, ordered them? Prophet, the leader of the Muslims, he ordered the companion to go to them. This shows that all these kind of things during wartime, the leader, he orders the people, not the companions from themselves. They went to Abu Sufyan caravan and they want to take their money. They are following their leader. Do this and don't do this. He calls for jihad, he doesn't call for jihad during wartime. So there are two things. This was during wartime, not peacetime. The other things that the leader of the Muslims, he asked them to do this. This is different than for me coming to this country and I live here and I have a visa and I go to them and I cheat them and I take money from them. This is treachery. This is haram. This is real haram. We cannot do any type of these things because as long as we are here, there is agreement between us and them that they will be safe from us. This is Islam.
Ikhwani, the time is almost up, inshallah. We want to, Sheikh, inshallah, just one more issue, but we just want to remind you, brothers, from all of this, the divine protection, it comes with, again, turning our affairs back to the ulama. And when I say that, I don't mean blindly following scholars and everything a scholar says right. That's not what I'm talking about. But we have to be connected to those ulama who are well known, carry the sunnah. The ulama of Islam who are well known for their islah. The Nabi told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-baraka ma'akabirikum. The blessings is with those big people from amongst you, meaning the scholars. And from the characteristics of those Khawarij type people is what has been mentioned so many times, that they have crazy ideas and they're young. And the Nabi told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inna min ashrat as-sa'a an yultamis al-ilm 'inda al-asaghir. From the signs of the hours that people will try to get knowledge from the youngsters, the little ones. It first means here the people of innovation, but also people just not qualified and competent. So again, the ulama. Imam Ahmed used to tell the people a principle about our Salafiyah. And that was, don't take any position, you don't have a scholar preceding you in that position. If that's jihad, what scholar said that? Living with you now. Not Ibn Taymiyyah said and you take a book and read that. Ibn Kathir said and you take a book. No. The scholars who are living with you right now. So with that being said, we just want the Sheikh to close out this session because we have only 5 more minutes, bi'idhnillah, just to give some closing words of nasiha concerning these shubahat that are creating a lot of fitna and fasad amongst us here.
Well, my advice is to gain knowledge. Most of these kind of things are because of ignorance. Ignorance is the major enemy of all Muslims. From ignorance, a lot of Muslims, they made a very bad picture regarding Islam to non-Muslims. So I think the major thing is to gain knowledge, to try to ask the scholars. We don't understand by just reading the books. We have to go back to the scholars to gain knowledge from them. This is my advice. I don't know, my English is not very good, but I hope it was clear. But for me, I think we should hear from you. If there is somebody who has a doubt that we might, someone didn't mention, he can ask.
Naam ya akhwan, that was part of the agreement, but the time ran out. We only have 5 minutes.
Give them one.
But we're going to go beyond the time frame. If there is someone in the audience who wants to participate because he has something in his mind, some understanding, some issue that he thinks is pertinent and imperative to put forward, now is an opportunity, inshallah, to have the issue addressed. So if there was something that you have, you can put it forward. That's a good point. Excellent point, Sensei. The brother, he said that many of the people want this mentality and methodology of the Khawarij. They don't accept and embrace the fatwa of the ulama. They even make takfir of many of the ulama, like the three major ulama who passed away: Al-Imam Al-Albani, Al-Imam Ibn Baz, Al-Imam Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahumullah. But when there's a fatwa or a position or a statement that one of those scholars said that supports what they're about, then they take the fatwa. Although they don't like them, they make takfir of them even. They say that they're ulama, scholars for dollars, and so forth and so on. So it has happened where on the YouTube, one of the ulama of al-Islam, may Allah have mercy upon him, he said it's permissible for us to kill their children and to kill their women. He said that. You can hear that. So they take that and they say, the same scholar, they reject him. But when he said that, they said even Sheikh so-and-so said this. So what does the Sheikh have to say about that minhaj? What does he have to say about that particular issue?
My answer first of all, this scholar said this. Does he mean that everybody can do this, or this is during the war? So you have to distinguish between things that you can do or the Muslim can do during the war and things that they can do during the peacetime. So this scholar, as he mentioned, he's talking about when there is a war between a non-Muslim country and the Muslim country, and they came to kill our children. He said we might kill their children because punish them as the way that they punish us. This is during war, and this is by the ruler. He says this. He ordered this, even though this is a weak opinion. And this is a very weak opinion, because children we cannot do, we cannot kill, except if we, except of some situation that the scholar says that if we cannot fight them, we cannot help ourselves or protect ourselves unless we throw the what they call bombs, and some children might die during war. They said you have to try to avoid them during the war, but if somebody of some children died, this is not you didn't
because of collateral damage. Some people just gonna die because the bomb went, and it's gonna be indiscriminate, and people will get killed.
This is the situation that he's talking about, like throwing bombings or something, and some children might kill. But you go to the children right away and kill them. This is haram, and we have to know that this kind of things he's talking about the war, and he's talking about the war where the ruler, he asked the people to do this. We're not talking about peacetime. We're not talking about general people. We're not talking about people who are living here. So we have to understand these kind of things. And this shows that these people, the takfiri, they are following their desires. They are not following the truth.